Welcome to EPG Pathshala. In the second module of object oriented programming, I am going to deliver topic about class constant, static property and method, and loop through objects property. In the previous section, I have discussed about object oriented concepts, object oriented terminologies, constructor, deconstructor, and we write code that will be use of object and constructor. So let's talk about class constant. So as we know that constant has a fixed value, so same way class constant is a constant which defined inside a class. Class constant is always public. You cannot use access modifier within the class constant because it is by default public. As class constant is public, it can be accessed outside of that class. To access class constant inside the class, you have to use the keyword self, then double colon, and this double colon operator is known as a scope resolution operator, and then class constant name. This double colon or scope resolution operator is also referred in many material as a one Hebrew word. The name is Pamium Nicodiotium, which means double colon in Hebrew. Now class constant is defined for class, so you can access that class constant outside of class by using class. You don't need to and within the class you don't need to create an object of class to get access of that. To get access of that class constant, you can write class name, scope resolution operator, and constant name. And this, as I say, this constant is typically used to define values which are passed to method in the class. Let us write a simple program. Okay, let me show first how to define or syntax. To define the constant, class constant, you can write constant means const keyword, then the name of your class constant, assignment operator, and set the value. Let me demonstrate example of class constant and how you can use it by writing a simple program. So let me open my notepad and I will write program in it. So let us write a code to explain you class constant use. So here I will start PHP coding by typing opening and closing PHP tag. Let me save this file, save as in OOP2 folder. I call this file class constant.php. Now here I create one class employee and let me define one attribute private $e department for employee department. Now I define constant, so here I write comment constants. The first constant I define is constant H for, let me say, HR department or human resource department. Constant I is for information technology department or IT department. Let me write it here in I, and I can create, let's say, constant F is equal to for finance department. So these are the three constant I have defined here. Now I define here get employee department and set employee ID. So I write public function get e department, and as it will take value I will write return $this and e department. To set I will write public function set e department and parameter is value. It can be any value as I said earlier. And now I write $this object access operator attribute e department is assigned to $value. But now I want to make sure that this value is either H, I or F. So I write if $value is equal to, so it is inside the class or within the class, I will use the keyword self scope resolution operator. The value is H, or $value is equal to self colon I or $value is equal to self, scope resolution operator and F, then only this value will be set. $this E department is this, otherwise, so I will write else exit invalid department. So my class definition is complete. In that class I take one private attribute E department and getter and setter method for this one, but I want to make sure that the department value is either HI or F. Now let me create one object of class employee. So here I write $E1 is assigned to new class name is employee. As I haven't defined any constructor, it will be take the default constructor without any parameter. Now I can say E1 and the function name is set E department. So here I will write it is outside of class. I will write class name, scope resolution operator and I. Now I can type echo br you are from, let me write E1 and get department from department. Here I use single quote, so I have to use this concatenation symbol $E1 and get department. So let me save this file and check it here. So I just move back here, refresh it, get E department. I have to write not get department, get employee department is E department. So save this one, refresh this. So it says you are from information technology department. So look at here I use in this way, or if I use in double quote, as I say that this is interpolation, you can write, let's say for example, echo br you are from $E1 and get department from department. So look at here what it shows here. As I say that it is okay, I have to again write E department, not the department. So you can work in this way. Line 29 it shows not there is a space that I have to remove, method name. So this is actually object, so it is always better idea to write within the text in double quote, and that will be separated from this one. Now if I save this one and run this, so it will be displayed from information technology. You can write in another way also. Let me put in remarks, and here I can write echo br you are from, and then I can write dot class name is employee, scope resolution operator, and let me write F dot department. Because it is outside class, I can provide class name, scope resolution operator and that name. So it should show you are from finance department. The spacing I can provide when I write code. So this is the way you can use class constant. Look at here, right? So this is class constant. The next one is static property and method. So static property and static method, which is belong to the class, not to an object created from the class. So in somewhat way it is very similar to class constant, but this is different in mainly two ways. The first way is that for class constant you cannot add access specifier like private, public or protected, but for static property or method you can add access specifier like private, public or protected. Second difference is that as the static method or static property, it is a property or method of a class, not an object. So you cannot use this keyword inside the static method, but of course you can use the self keyword to get the value of that static property or object. So as a result, static method can only work with other static method, properties or class constant. So let me take example of static property as well. Let me start typing by opening and closing PHP tag. Save this file name as a file, save as in the EPG. It's a second program, so I write to static property dot php. Save this one. Let me create one class, the class employee with private employee ID and employee name, and here I define private static object count variable and initial value assigned to 0. So this is my static variable I have defined here. Now let me create one constructor, public function and double underscore construct. To create constructor, it takes two parameter, EID and ename. As it is a constructor, I just write $this object access operator. EID is assigned to the value you pass in constructor. Same way for $this object access operator. Ename is assigned to $ename. Now I have to write for EID getter and setter. So I will write public function get EID, and this will return $this EID. To set the value, public function set EID and pass $value as argument, then $this EID is assigned to $value. For same manner I have to write code for ename, so that will be public function get ename is return $this and ename, and public function set ename to set the value for employee name, it is $this object access operator. Ename is assigned to $value. $value is I have to pass when I set the value. So these are the function I have defined. Let me create one more function here. So here I define public function object count, or simply count, but count is already available, so let me write the full name object count, and this function will return self $object count. Now object count I have to increment in my constructor as well, so I can write here, because I cannot use self with that $this with static property, I will write self $object count plus plus, because I define one static object is $obj count. Now this function is not static because I use static property in it, so this function must be static, otherwise it will generate error. So I have to write public static function this. Now let me create one object, say E1 is new employee, and here I write value, let's say 1 and Anand. We write echo br there are employee, the name of that function is object count objects created. Right, let me create new object. E2 is assigned to new employee second and Chetan. Let me once again type the same code to count how many objects are created. $E3 is assigned to new employee third and Jayesh, employee name is, and this one. So save this file and let's check. It should be 1, 2 and 3 because this is static. So let me run that code. Let me refresh the page. Let me run this. It will be say undeclared static property employee colon object count on line 11. So on line 11 I have written obj count, not object count. It is obj count plus plus. So let me run this code. Okay, spelling mistake on line 33, so I have to make it correct as self colon object count and execute this code. Undeclared static property object count on line 33. Again I have to write obj count. As I speak obj count, I write obj count. So 1, 2 and 3 because these all are static. So first it will be created, it will write as a 1. Second object created, it will be considered 2. Third it will be created as well be 3. Even if I make it in comments and let me show you. So it will display these 2 objects are created, right, 1 and 2. So this is static properties and method. Be remember, as I say, with static you cannot use this inside your static method, but you have to use the keyword self, as I use here self. Now if I not write static here for that static function, so what happens? Actually if it is not static, let's run and see. So though it will display the result, but it will be display a warning, strict standard, that non-static method should not be called strictly on that non-static method. So when you use static property or method, it only use static attributes. We have already discussed about that one, that if you use static property and method, so static method can only work with static method, properties or class constant. So this is all about static properties and method. Now let me discuss about loop through class object and property. So you have created a class and there are objects and you want to print all the object needs value. So you can use for each loop, which is used to access the property of an object. The general syntax is for each, for each, then into parentheses you have to write object name as optionally key value or property name, arrow operator which is assignment operator and greater than symbol combined without space, this is optional, and property value, and then you can write statement. Let's take one example for this for each loop. So let me once again create a new file into my notepad. So I open my notepad and start typing coding here. So as usual, first opening PHP tag and closing PHP tag, file, save as, this is the third program, for each loop dot php. So again I will create one class employee. Now here I define 2 private attribute and 2 public attributes. So let me first define public employee ID and employee name, and 2 private attribute, private $employee department and employee salary as a e-salary. So this is the, I have defined 4 attributes, 2 are public, 2 are private. Now Let me create getter setter for this, or I can define constructor as well. So let me define first constructor. So I write public function underscore construct, and I provide only employee ID and ename, only this two value, and I can write here $this EID is $EID, $this and ename is assigned to $ename. And now I have to write getter and setter for EID, so I will write public function get EID, and it will return $this EID. Public function set EID, $value is a parameter, then I can set $this and EID is assigned to $value. This is for EID. Same way I define for ename. So I will write public function get ename. This will return $this and property name ename. Public function set ename, pass $value, so it will set for current object access operator. This is $this and ename is assigned to $value. These are for public. Now the private two properties I have defined is e-department and e-salary, for employee department and employee salary. So again I will write function for this two. Public function get e-department, so it will same way return $this and e-department. And public function set e-department, $value is $this, employee department is assigned to $value. And the last way I have to define for employee salary, means e-salary. So for that, public function get e-salary is return $this e-salary, means employee salary. And to set that, public function set e-salary, $value is $this e-salary is assigned to $value. So for all these four attribute I have written getter and setter. Just look at here, two public properties, two private properties, and we define one constructor which take only public value, and then we define getter and setter for EID, ename, e-department and e-salary. Now I will create one more function. Let me create this function name as show. So I will write public function show. It doesn't take any parameter. Now I want to display all the properties of related with objects. So to display it clearly, let me create first echo, and let me use unordered list to display this list. Then I write for each. Now this is actually this I have to use because I am inside the class, and I can use this operator as, let me say, $p name for property, arrow operator, and p value for property value. And I can write echo list insert dot $p name dot, let me combine with or separate them by this single colon operator, or p name equal to dot $p value. Of course you can write anything, and p name is optional. I can simply write $this as p value, so it will show only value, but I would like to display also property name its value. That's why I write this too. and inside that, after that loop, so this is for each loop, I will close it echo slash unordered list and close this one, right? So my class definition is clear. Now let me create one new object. $emp is new employee, and let me write 101 and name is Shreyash. Then I write $emp dot set department is, let me write HR. $emp and set salary is, let me write 25,000. So as a constructor I provide this to public value, and then I define this to value for private by using public functions. Now to get the value of show, I can say echo br after calling the show method. The output will be, so I now call $emp and show. Save this file. Let me demonstrate the example of this one. So I just refresh this one. Let me, so it will display employee ID is 101, employee name is Rayesh, employee department is HR, and salary is this one. And as I say, if in this one, if I not write this, I just remove this p name and value, so it will display this value only. So it is not compulsory, but to make your code more workable, it is always good idea you should write property name and its value. So now you can work with this one. Now what actually happens if you code the same code outside of that class? Say for example, now I write echo br outside of the class, and I will check it here. Let's say for example, here I write echo again unordered list, then I write for each. Now my object is employee, so I write $emp as $p name arrow operator and $p value, and I want to display echo list insert $p name dot equal to dot $p value semicolon, and echo unordered list. I should close the tab. So this tag is closed. Now if I execute that code, so it will display only the public property. Look at here, it will display only employee ID and employee name as they are defined as a public, not private. So when you use for each loop, should keep in mind that it will work if you define anything as a function, then it will be show all the public and private value. But if you define outside of the class, then it will shows only public property. So this is the actually, so as I have written that if for each loop coded inside a method of an object loop through object each access modifier, whether it is public, private or protected, and if you coded outside object only, then it will be display public only. So let's summarize of today's session. In today's session I have just first we discuss about class constant and how you can define class constant, what is it will be used. Then we consider static properties and methods, and finally we consider how you can loop through an object's property. I hope you will be enjoying that. In the next object session I will be continuing with object oriented programming.